Hi, everybody. This is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food, and backed by popular demand. Oh my God, the emails I got, the text. Lisa is back for another session of joy and love and spirituality and everything that makes her keto plan so successful for her. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello, Sarah. How are you guys?
Just fine, just fine. I've been looking forward to this all weekend too.
I know. It's a good connection.
And you got so much response the last time, and I think it just shows that the power of a positive attitude, no matter what, will help you in your keto
Yeah,
journey. Certainly have that.
yeah. And I just think like I'm so always grateful to you because like people our age, it's like we're like underserved in the community. And also people in maintenance. Maintenance is a topic that I just think everybody talks about getting to the goal, but what do you do when you get there?
Or they go from I'm a beginner to I'm having my cheat meal. And it's like, well, how did you get to where you can have a cheat meal?
I
I've been
mean,
eating keto for a week and a half. No, 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 don't tell me that.
yeah, it's like it can be, it's like almost like watching a baby learn to walk when you have people in your life that, you can be preaching and preaching and preaching, and then you want to scream, I told you so, but you got to go, oh, really? So, yeah. But I would like to see like more conversations about the long term sustenance of whatever weight loss you have, because I feel like once you get to that the end game, that's where the real danger is.
Yes, exactly. And it's funny because I was just thinking about this on my way home from my meeting. And I was thinking, when the dog catches the bus that he's been chasing for years, then what does he do? He's
Yeah,
the bus.
yeah, yeah. And it's like I actually have a couple of friends that even had bariatric surgery recently, and they're dealing with the same thing. So I think across all different ways of losing weight, it's like when you get there, there's so many psychological parts of it. I really believe that. And I had a really nice conversation with a friend of mine about like how people treat you differently, how that can really mess with your head, how people say things to you. Like I've had everything from you look sick, you should really eat a little bit. And I'm like, have you seen me? I like, and I'm not saying I look great, but I still have meat on my bones. Do you know what I mean? And then you have people like who react like girls get jealous sometimes, or they treat you different. They say you changed, but you didn't change. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's hard to gauge. Like I really would like to even like to have more conversations about the psychological aspect of it. You
Go ahead. Let's do it.
I mean, I think like sometimes people will say to me, "Oh my God, you look so much better now." I get really pissed off. I almost feel like, that person how many years ago was just as valid as this person now. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, uh, it's a weird thing. I actually have a guy in my office that recently lost about 100 pounds, and he was saying the same thing. We were also talking about how your body reacts to weight loss. So, you'll have skin or whatever. And he was saying to me, you do all this hard work. Like he said, I've done all this hard work. And now when I go to the beach, I don't want to take my shirt off. He's like,
The
when I was,
skin.
yeah, because he's like, when I was heavy, okay, so I was heavy. But now it's like I look like whatever. And it's like, so I've done all of this work to get to this point, and now I have to make peace with what it is. And he was also really kind of interestingly saying to me, you also have to make peace with the disaster that you created on yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? When you look at that, you say, I did this to me. So I think that, for me, there's so many different levels of going through the weight loss and I also think that's what can stall you and make you cheat and eat. It's almost like you have a train going this way, 70 miles an hour your whole life, and you're doing this, but I'm going to speak in for me. Sometimes you feel this incredible pull back to what's comfortable for you. and what makes everybody else around you comfortable. Do you know what I'm saying? Because as we change, people sometimes don't react well to that. You know, because even if you're not, like, I'm not a keto evangelist except for now when we're talking about it. But like I'll sit across the table from my friends, you know, out to eat, and I'll get like whatever. And she's like, oh, you could have a little bit. Oh, just have a bite, just have a this. And you're like, why do I have to talk about this? So I think that maintenance is the main thing. As life takes different roads, like you're gonna have things going on. Okay. Now you and me know what we're talking about here. Whether you're addicted to whatever, whether it's alcohol or sex or shopping or whatever, when you curb that addiction, you are still going to have the car that breaks down, the person that's mad at you, the business deal that goes bad, all of the things in life that you're encountered with every day that you used to go to whatever substance it was as an escape hatch. Now that substance is no longer available. So
or you're so aware of it, you know, like especially if a deal goes bad in your life and you don't have the food and you've tried the other things, well, the other things, they're probably going to tell you, you know, in your head,
yeah,
this isn't working either. Everything leaves you flat.
Yeah. I think in America, we're so used to numbing our feelings over everything. And we're taught that from such a young age. Here, have a cracker. Here, buy a bag. Here, do this. So it's like we very rarely sit with our uncomfortable feelings. And I feel like over this period of weight loss, I've learned a lot about sitting with those feelings and not having an immediate solution to those feelings. And so over the last like month or so, I've dealt with a lot of stress in my life. And I really I'm so proud of myself in the last month, because what I did was I just kept saying to me, back to the basics, stick to the basics and go right through. And that wasn't only with weight. It was like, take that walk.
Okay. So give us some of your basics. Cause I'm sure people would want to know.
So a couple of my basics are, I always go back to the same thing, which is steak and spinach. Okay. Spinach is very high in potassium, and it's something that we need. And it's not a super carby vegetable. Okay. So when I feel like I don't know what to eat, I want to grab this, I want to grab that, I literally, I stop on the way home from work. I buy myself like a nice big steak. I cook it in my pan. I cook the spinach, fresh spinach, in with that grease. I pour a ton of butter and garlic on it. And when I eat that, I feel better. And I often will say to myself, I could just pick up this. I could get this. I could get that. And then I say to myself, it takes no time. Do it. So the basics for me are meat. If I'm going to have a vegetable, it's going to stick to spinach. I will go heavy on the butter. I will go back to my bulletproof coffee. I feel like that is a safety net. Okay. Because it's one of those things that can be really like nourishing. Like you almost feel like you're having a treat. Okay. So I feel like that's the safety thing. I really do work on getting my electrolytes in. I'm not a super water drinker. I wish I was, but I'm just not. So I'll get like my either a Powerade Zero, or I will like put a lot of salt in some water or something. The other back to basics thing for me is sunshine and a half-hour walk. You know, I feel
that.
Yeah, I feel like nature is underrated. And I'm a city girl, you know, and it took me forever to understand that, like being in the sun and looking at trees and letting your mind wander, it puts things in perspective, you know, and for me, it says to me, you know, these trees have been growing for 100 years. Long after your little crisis is over, they're still going to grow. So it puts it in perspective, and it makes me not feel like I have to stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like for me, food eating was always an emotional stuffing. So, I feel like it's like a comfort. It's like big, warm things come around you and you feel so full that you can't move.
It's like perfect for you because, when I was a lot more social in the old days, and, because you could do all the stuff that you could do when you're social, drink and overeat and, all the bad things. And it's funny that, okay, so you have your go-to meal like a hostess has her go-to, company coming for dinner. So
Yeah.
your steak and your spinach with your garlic and your butter and bulletproof coffee.
Yeah.
And food-wise, that's going to pull you through it. And then you add in the walk and you add in the sunshine.
Yeah.
How difficult is that?
It's, you know what it is? It's like one of those things. It's like I have to feel like I have to, instead of making things more complicated, it's like about simplifying. And I think we talked about this last time. A lot of the keto channels are like, well, you can make keto bakery and you can make keto this and you can make keto this. And it's like a reenactment of all the things we're giving up. And it's almost like drinking near beer. You're an alcoholic, but you're going to drink near beer. I mean, it's a gateway drug. Okay. You're reminding your body of what you're giving up. I always think that with the e-cigarettes too. I was a long time smoker. I loved smoking. I gave it up like 20 something years ago. I mean, I remember when I gave up smoking, I said, I can't give up smoking. It's who I am. People who smoke e-cigarettes, it's almost like pulling a Band-Aid off hair by hair. It's like, so for me, instead of me making it complicated and saying, well, I'm going to make some keto treats or I'm going to do this, I make it less complicated and almost more rigid. Because
where the comfort comes from is like, I only have 4 options to choose from,
right,
as opposed to, I'm the same way when I buy a car. I go to the same people, the same dealership. Mm-hmm. I know that car gurus, and I know I've got a gazillion choices, but makes me too crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, the simplification of this diet is something that's also not really talked about, because I know a lot of these channels are really out to make a lot of money and God love them and everything. But it's like, I feel like even now they're even reaching further. I don't know if you feel that. It's like, they're like, you can almost sense a desperation in the channels, because I have to make keto gummies with like gelatin. I have to make this, I have to make that. And it's like, I feel like it's like you're constantly reaching for something that you're supposed to be giving up. So why not just give it up? For me, excuse me, if I really want a treat, I will go to the supermarket. I will get one of those protein-based ice creams, right? And I bring it home and I eat half the pint. Now, I mean, net carbs, whatever it is. It's the better bad choice. And the other thing I do is the mascarpone cheese, which I talked to you about. Did I talk to you about that? Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So I feel like the simplification is something that's really not talked about, and how to say to yourself, let me think less about making my life complicated and make it, and also take time. Like, and we talked about this before, like us women, we're the saviors of the damn world. Okay. You got a problem, we're going to rush to fix it. You don't even want us to fix your problems, but we are going to get in there. We are going to, we're going to insert ourselves into that problem. And then we're going to be mad when you don't do what we tell you to do, because we're the perfect puppeteers. Okay. And I was just talking to a couple of my girlfriends about that before. And it's like, whoa, no matter, we're not the saviors of the world. We need to focus on ourselves, and we need to say, whatever's going on, like you could have a kid that has something going on. You could have a spouse that has something going on. You have to say, I can't get over there now. Even if it's taking a walk, your walk is just as valid as if you have a doctor's appointment, because you know what? That walk is health. And we sometimes have to put people, and you know what the craziest thing about this is? This is where girlfriends come in handy. They don't care. Like, I had a friend say to me the other day, I told my sister-in-law, like, I can't do that anymore. She was like, okay. Meanwhile, she was building it up in her heart, like, because she felt that she was the martyr of all martyrs. I have to go to my mother-in-law's and I have to do this. I think that this, for women, this is a major issue. And I feel like, we give so much of ourselves to other people, then we become resentful that they don't appreciate what we're doing. And we really need to understand, nobody's asking you to do that. So, we got to turn the bus around and look back at ourselves and say, okay, what makes me happy in the moment? Take an hour, go shopping, do what you want to do, have your time with your girlfriends. Funny thing, recently, every Friday night I go out with one of my girlfriends. Our big night is we go to Walmart or something, and then we go to the diner. It's something that, like, literally, if I don't have it, I'm upset because she's such a good, sensible friend. So, my guy like had a medical thing, and I was like, his daughters were there, and I'm like, well, okay, so you girls can go over there and do whatever, and I'm going to go out to dinner with my friend. I literally thought everybody was going to look at Malia like, you horrible, horrible woman. And you know what they said? Okay, sounds good. Have fun.
And then they get their quality time, and you still have your quality time. And I think routine is important. And you know that this woman supplies you with a lot of good juju.
Yeah, and it's like when you like, that's why I was like talk to you, Sarah. It's like you have to be mindful of how you feel when you leave a particular person or a particular place. If every time you leave a certain person, you leave with a bad feeling, you know, you need to limit your exposure to that person. You know?
Limited exposure, one of my biggest things. I just wanted to go back before I keep forgetting because it's in my head. When you were saying that you were out with that friend and they were saying, have this, have a bite of this, do that. She's distracting herself from her stuff, pushing onto you something.
Yeah.
So we fight. We have to, suddenly we're defensive. It's like, you know, how many times have we been over this? I've been doing this food program. You know, we're into the 3rd year and you're still pushing.
Yeah.
Because she's still, you know, going outside of herself to stay busy in somebody else's business that she wasn't invited to.
It's funny. I find the most resistance comes from older people. Like younger people, like, I'm in, I'm all in, you know, and they'll do whatever you want them to do. My son invited me into his new apartment in the city and he made me a keto dinner.
Nice.
And I was like, he's like, how about I make a keto dinner? And I'm like, okay. And when I got there, he did. And then before I left to drive back to the island, he says to me, hold on, I got all the ingredients to make you a bulletproof coffee. I looked it up.
Aww.
And he had the butter and everything. Then you have other people that are like, just have the potatoes. It's Easter. Just have a little bit of this. Have a little bit of that. Oh, you don't want a little piece of cake? Oh, you had a long drive home. And I'm like, whoa. And, you know, that's a muscle that you build by saying, no, thank you. No, thank you. I always say, and I know you really don't have to do this, but I always say, I have a medical issue. I mean, whether people have a medical issue or not, they need to say, you know, that is something you can very often say to people is, I'm allergic to that. Like if somebody said to you, I have a gluten intolerance, nobody would shove a piece of bread in their face. You know, it's like when you don't drink. I don't drink. You go to like an event. Oh, have a glass of wine. See, I have the worst thing because I'm not a recovering alcoholic or recovered alcoholic. I just don't drink. So it's like people like, oh, loosen up. Just have a glass of wine. Just have this. And you're like, why are you trying to like run my story? You know, but the same thing is true with drinking. When other people are drinking and you're not drinking, they become self-conscious of their drinking. So it's like the eating. You know what I'm saying? So
but do you do that to other people? I don't. Do you like see what somebody's eating and start in on them and how they should do it?
No.
No.
Never. First of all, I'm one of those people, like we all know that being healthy is important. But I also came from being like a plus size girl. Okay. So I have a lot you know, a lot of respect for that community and for a body love community and all that. So for me, like if my son was 300 pounds, of course I would be concerned for him, but I would also, you know, love him where he is. And, you know, I wouldn't say things like that because I remember being heavier. And if people said things like that to me, they hurt me. You know, generally no one ever said that to me because I have that look. That nobody would say that. But like if someone said to, like I've had friends who people like, well, you have such a pretty face. If you lose a little weight, you know, and people really feel they can say things for people that are heavy too. So it happens in both ways. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, like I've had a friend who went to a doctor, it was like an acne doctor, and they're talking to her about her weight, which is diet is one thing, but weight, it's like, I'm here for this. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, there was a better way to do it. Although I will say, and I've said this to you before, the woman that got me started on the right had no bedside manner. The doctor that said it to me, she said, Lisa, you're either going to have your children visit you your grandchildren visit you in a nursing home because you don't have legs from diabetes, or you're going to play with them on a playground. She gave me a big sheet about losing weight, and I'm like, wow, doc, way to hit me between the eyes. But she was right. I recently saw her, and she was like, whoa, oh my gosh. So I do feel that back to basics is super important. You always have to have your mainstays. It's almost like the outfit that always looks good on you. When you don't know what else to wear that. Okay, so when you feel in that moment like I don't know what to eat, you should have a couple of go-to meals. A lot of people do the ground beef thing. You could do a nice steak. You could do a nice burger. You got to stay away from even the carby vegetables. I feel like if you go crazy with if you eat like a big thing of broccoli like this, it's like you're feeding that part of you that wants to feel stretched. And I don't know about you, but I don't feel stretched on this diet.
No, I am so glad to be rid of that bloat. Bloat.
Isn't it funny though, even if you eat a little bit extra carby, can't you see it in your face? And your hands?
I feel it in my hands. Oh, what do we got here?
What do we have?
Can you hear it? Oh, it's weird. I feel it in my fingers, and I can see it in my gut. I don't hear. But,
yeah, because it's funny. It's like, and I'm not even talking bread. God, I don't even know what would happen to me if I ate bread and the other stuff. But if I say to myself, oh, I'm going to have instead of spinach, I'll have broccoli. I had cauliflower, like the rice thing, in something the other day. And it's like the next day my rings were tight. And when I was putting on my makeup, I'm like, oh, we're going to need a little extra contour down here today. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
one more dab.
Yeah. One more dab's always good. You see my face. But I feel like that's something too. It's not only weight, it's swelling. It's inflammation. And it's like, that is something that has been a big thing. Like my feet, I don't know about you, but my feet shrunk. I mean, my fingers shrunk. It's very, very odd, the places in your body that just kind of, and then over time, it's even tightening up. I don't know if you feel that too. Like this,
it's taken a long time, but I still have a lot, but I know that something's tightening. I'm not gonna have little skinny girl arms, but
yeah. I think that is something that is something you have to get used to. I feel like for me, when I started to lose weight, I really never even thought of that consequence. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I've had kids, so of course you have a little stretch marks. You have that little kid pouch, right after you have babies and so, or 20 years later, as the case may be. But I didn't really think of the consequence of the skin stretched out and having to go back. So as I started to lose weight, that was and I know it's ridiculous, but it was a little bit of a shock. You know what I'm saying? That it's and I also think, like I said before, it's you have to make peace with the self-destructiveness that you did to you. Which I think is a moment of you don't want to sit in it, but you should recognize that. I did this to myself. And it was interesting to talk to that guy because he was even saying, as women, you could wear a one piece. And a lot of it is hidden. And he said, but if I want to go to the beach, and this guy literally lost 140 pounds. He's like, I'm feeling self-conscious when at 300 pounds, I never felt self-conscious.
I'm going to ask you the question that everybody out there is wondering. How did he lose it?
Oh, he lost it. He went on a low carb diet, but he's not ketogenic. But it was interesting because we had a really good conversation. My front desk girl has been trying to lose weight for a while. And, I've given her my ideas and stuff, and she hasn't really connected with that. But he started working for my company, and he started talking to her too. So the other day we were both in, and poor girl was sitting between us. So me and him started, but it was a great conversation. Was me and him talked a lot about the emotional aspect. He talked about being mad that his wife, because I said to him, sometimes it creates problems in relationships. Like if you've been married to this person for a long time and you've always been a certain way that you look, whether they liked it or they didn't, as you change, there's a reaction. And he said to me, I go, did your wife like get like, he goes, no, I got mad at her because she never told me good job. Like through the whole thing. He said, I did all this work. I was this way. You don't even notice. And she said, well, I always see you the same way. And so it's like, even though it was like a compliment, he was mad. Do you know what I'm saying?
I get it. Well, yeah, because I think that's more of a male kind of response.
I think it can go both ways. When I first met my ex-husband, I was like always like a heavier girl. And as we approached our wedding, I went to lose weight and I went to like Weight Watchers and I lost some weight. And I remember him coming up to me a couple of weeks before the wedding and saying, this is going the wrong way. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, you need to stop. I go, stop what? He goes, you're losing everything I like. I went on an eating tinge. I was afraid to try that wedding gown on. The seamstress called. She goes, "You should come for a final fitting." I said, "No." That day it was like, because
no, I meant his response, her response to him, that like she didn't have a problem with it, but she couldn't give him an attaboy about the work that he'd done. It was just kind of like the elephant in the room.
I really think it's a double-edged.
I know that with Greg, sometimes I'm not getting the feedback that like I would get from my YouTube channel.
Well, I'm going to say one thing about that. My very good friend who I go out with on Friday nights, whenever I say anything about my guy, she always says the same thing. Lisa, he is a man. And then I go, yeah. And she goes, with a man brain. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But I think it goes both ways. Like, because I feel like someone like overly like, you look great. Then you think, God, if I gain 5 pounds, they're not going to think I look great. Or what happens if I go back to the way I was? Do you know what I'm saying? And then you just have to say like, I'm good with who I am and as a person. But I think relationships during weight loss are a major conversation that people could have. How your girlfriends react to you, how people in business react to you, how like even like the guy that you've been buying your cold cuts from for 10 years, suddenly he's like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, I've been coming to get cold cuts from you for 10 years. You never talk to me like that. And it's like, on the one hand, people are like, well, doesn't that make you feel good? No, it doesn't. It makes me feel like I was a valuable person then. And I'm a valuable person now. So I think that, the whole like keeping your stuff in gear and all that stuff is always a constant battle with the mental part of weight loss. And even though I'm far into the maintenance part of it, I still feel like that rears its head in interesting ways. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, and I feel that new people to keto, like on my channel, when they comment, each little landmark that they give themselves is so important. And then when you get to the maintenance or age or both, because, what came first for me, maintenance or being older and being able to like just be happy to be alive.
Yeah.
Comes in, and then the feeling of like, have you had a good night's sleep, like a solid 8 or 9 hours?
Yeah.
Didn't before, would you trade that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I think the mind is an incredibly complex thing. And it's very easy also to forget where you came from. It's almost like you get used to this new person that you are. And then sometimes you see a picture of yourself, even though we all dodge the camera when we're heavy, and you're like, how was I living my life then? Do you know what I mean? It's a real shocker. Do you know what I mean? And, I do think in the beginning, everybody wants to see, because everybody's like saying, oh, keto's the magic thing. You'll lose 10 pounds. You'll do this, which you will lose weight fast in the beginning, but it's not a diet. It's like it's a journey that you should stay on the rest of your life. And people always say this to me all the time. And I'm sure they say to you, well, what happens when you go off keto? When you go off keto, you're going to gain a lot of weight. And I'm like, well, why would I go off of it? And I'm not on it.
Date. This isn't an end date thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned something, and I just want to pull from you, because I'm sure viewers think the same thing. What is your relationship with the scale? I remember your answer from last time, but I want to hear it again.
I really don't weigh myself. I mean, I've never been a big wearer. Okay. Even back in the day when I was on Weight Watchers, like whatever the scale said, I was like, eh. I'm a person that's like, I'm on the road and I know if I'm putting in the work, I'm putting in the work. What I will say is this. Everybody knows when their pants get tight. And everybody knows when they're avoiding putting on that particular pair of pants. Okay. The biggest part of maintenance is recognizing that and turning the bus, making that adjustment. Okay. Like, and it's not a huge adjustment. You can't be punitive. That'll backfire. If you feel like your pants are tight and you're like, well, I'm not going to eat for 2 days. I'm going to fast for 48 hours. I'm going to do this. That's not going to work at all. Number one, because your cortisol will be elevated and your body will suck onto that fat because it feels like it's in starvation mode. The other thing is at the other end of that fast or whatever you do, you're going to feel like you should reward yourself. That's when it comes down to back to the basics. So what I feel like what happens to me is when I go a little awry, it's always the same thing. It's always one too many coffees with too much heavy cream in it. Okay. Or it's, you know, it's not eating off keto. It's eating too much. Okay. Like eating like too much steak. I mean, I'm not measuring at this point in my life, but I know when I'm eating too much. Okay. So what happens is you just have to bring that back, like dial it back a little bit. Within a couple of days, you'll be back on the right road. The whole point is to catch it. I know a lot of people weigh themselves all the time, and I think that's a good tool. Even people who weigh every day and people say they shouldn't. I think everybody's in charge of their own life. Okay. If you want to weigh every day and that's working for you, then you should do that. But if you feel that you can bring it into another way, then you can do it. Like I have a girlfriend right now, my business partner, she's always trying to lose weight. And she is like so hyper focused on things. And I'm just like, listen, you look nice. Take it easy. Like she's like, this jacket doesn't feel any looser. I said, it doesn't feel any looser, but you could zip it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yes.
I think that she really is so like she's so goal driven. Like even when we go for walks together, like she always wants to walk together, but she likes to count the steps. She likes to do all this other stuff. And she's like, we went 2.2 miles. And it's like, it makes me stressed, which is the exact opposite of what I'm there for. So it's like, I get it that she's a counter, but I'm not a counter. And it's like, I said to her, like, I know myself. Let's say I start being a counter. If I do 2 seconds less than I did yesterday, well, I beat myself up over it. I'm a failure. I didn't work hard enough. I didn't do it on enough. And then it creates a spiral for me. And, you know, I don't want to do that. So I think the non-scale victories are important, but those with age on us understand that. When we were young, it was about being hot fast, you know, having a flat stomach. I mean, I remember all that. You know, like looking better than Sally Joe down the street or getting this guy's attention or doing whatever it is. So I have a lot of empathy for people who are in that thing. And also, it's hard for us to remember because we're long into this, that feeling of desperation in the beginning where it's like, oh my God, how did I get here? How do I get out of here? You know what I'm saying? And it's like every little bit in the beginning, like you just want to feel validated because you're afraid that you're wasting another 2 weeks on something that doesn't work when you can go across the street and take that magic vitamin, which you know on the internet now, that's crazy. If I have to hear one more person private message me how to lose weight, I'm like, girl, like, or somebody saying all this keto stuff you have to buy. I'm like, you don't have to buy any of this. Like, why are you forcing? I mean, I get it. It's those, you know, the pyramid schemes or whatever. And like, I don't comment, but I'm like, you know, really, it's not about all of this and this and this and take this vitamin, take that vitamin. Do you take vitamins? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I do take some supplements.
I do too. What do you take?
Yeah. C iodine, selenium, omega-3, biotin.
Do you feel that your things, that your amount of supplements you're taking have narrowed along this path?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Because I feel like during this path, I was like, do I really need that? Is it giving me anything? So my
I don't feel
vitamin,
any different when I stop them.
no, I don't either.
So that's kind of the proof.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like that has kind of like narrowed down for me too. I don't
And
feel
I
like
think when people start the carnivore, that, they give up the pepper with the salt, they give up the spices, just have
yeah,
they give up the supplements,
yeah.
and then they say just have organ meat. But it's just kind of interesting because it's like, well, why isn't vitamin D just as important being a carnivore as it was being keto?
I mean, I think that, in the diet world, everybody becomes like extremists. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, an extremist and an expert and all that. And I really believe in that sounds great for you. Like, I feel like we can all share our experiences, but I really don't believe in being punitive to other people that are on the road in the same way. Like I have friends that have had bariatric surgery. I have friends that have done other things. And you know what I say to them is, you took your health back in your hands. You took your health back in your hands, but they also understand too that their relationship with food has to change. Like the two girlfriends that I had that had bariatric surgery are actually dealing with a lot of the same things that I deal with. Because whether your stomach is shrunk or not, we don't eat to feed our stomach. Our stomach is this big.
It's never about hunger.
You watch the My 600-Pound Life?
Of course.
That doctor is the best.
I love him. I love his smackdowns.
I
can tell that you're not doing it because if you were having 1,200 calories a day, you would have lost 120 pounds. I told you.
I like it. He's like, you're lying.
Yeah.
And then he always calls the other person out on the table. He's like, what are you? You're bringing them the food?
Yeah, this person hasn't gotten out of bed in 2 years. So
yeah, and you know what the scary thing is about My 600-Pound Life is it is a very small step between being obese and getting there. And most people don't even, they're very like judgmental about that, but it's a very small step. If you are extremely overweight and suddenly you become less mobile and you continue to eat like that, that is like, boom, you're off to the races.
And you have the enabler.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? And he's got a lot of that New York spunk to him, don't you think?
I think first of all, I think that guy is so sexy. He's like, I like a person that will be like, nope. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, say it like it is. Like, and I love that he's so like emotionless in a way. He's like Simon Cowell. He's like, you're not good.
I do get a lot, but I do want them to change. There's a real grumpy nurse that lets them in when they show up.
They open the door.
And she's just got this like look on her face, like, I hate my job. And it's like, well, I'm not too fond of you either. And
well, you know what I always think is interesting about those that program is the difference between someone who really will listen to him. And then you get people and it's like, you can see the addict in them. They literally are like, I'm good. I'm done. Like, I know this. And I was watching this girl. She's a new YouTuber. She is sober 6 years from heroin. And she was saying, like, being addicted is like, you're in the ocean. You're being pulled out by the undertow. You're being pulled out from the wave. Your family, your friends are all like, come here. And you're like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm cool. I got this. She's like, the seaweed is pulling you underground. You're like, I'm fine. I got this. Not only are you fine, but you're mad at everybody. And so sometimes like the anger from the clients is very like hostile towards the people around them. But you can also see the relationship, the feeder. And, we have people like that in our life too, and it's like important to see those people, and understand that they're trying, but, at our age, we probably have whittled them out of our lives. You know what I'm saying?
I don't suffer fools. So, and so I've seen it along the way. I've seen it working in rehabs. I've seen it, keto coaching, and I've seen that sort of stuff. And it's just like, paying me doesn't mean you're going to lose the weight. You're still going to have to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I also think that programs like that are really good in a way because, it's funny the people that say they can't watch them. it's like they're the people that don't want to be accountable in their own life, you know, to do the things. But I think, like, for me, getting back to where, however you lose the weight, you know, I'm team everybody. You know, you're a Whole30 person, good for you. You're a vegetarian, good for you. Good for you. I know that for everybody, if you're a vegetarian, you should talk to people that have been successful in that era. You know, and the same thing for carnivore and all those people. I know one thing for me I really feel like I don't want to be punitive to myself. I feel like the world is punitive enough. And I did not have the easiest of childhoods or the easiest of situations. And now is my time to shine. And I am certainly not going to be punitive to myself at this time in my life. So if I want to eat a vegetable, I'm going to eat the vegetable. I'm going to enjoy it. Okay. If I want to, you know, be more like strict, I'm going to be more strict. And I know that I don't have, doesn't have to be so black and white. You know, we're here to enjoy our lives too. Okay. So we should also, like, and I know you always make delicious foods for yourself and stuff like that. And we should all eat what we like, you know, because even if it's like fat, satisfying, and all that stuff, if you didn't enjoy it, you're not going to feel like you did the job.
Right. Exactly. You know, and I see some people and it's like, you're really just eating to live. And it doesn't.
It's like, you know, you want to survive on bars. Okay. Like, I don't want to eat bars every day. So a lot of people will say to me, well, is this 100% no? Is this? I said, listen, I've reached where I want to be. I'll tell you what, if I really want a piece of cake, no one in this world is going to tell me I can't have a piece of cake. Okay. But it'll be a conscious decision. And I might have a bite. It hasn't occurred to me to do that. I haven't had cake in like 3 years. But I'll tell you what, if tonight I had to be in my bonnet to have a piece of cake, I would be smart about it. I wouldn't buy a cake and bring it to my place. I would go out to a nice little place and I would order a piece of cake and I would share it between me and my guy, and I would have 1 or 2 bites and it would be an event. It wouldn't be this.
Yeah. Yeah. And when people, you know, when I have my messy Mondays and people come forward, and I've only got a few more minutes, when they, you know, when they talk about their weekend, and it just seems like they let the eating take over.
It seems
like a conscientious or conscious decision to have, okay, we're going to this breakfast place. I always like this such and such. And instead of just having it and enjoying every bite and leaving there, you know, they let it roll and roll and roll. And then when these people who are on obviously a food weekend, you know, they pull her into the next food treat and everything. And it's hard to like
binge.
Huh?
It's a binge. And it's like, I always come back to the same thing, that food is like alcohol, like sex addiction, like shopping addiction. And it all does the same thing. Let me just go and buy a purse. And then you wake up and it's $4,000 later. And you have a bunch of boxes in your room that you never even open up. And it's the same thing with sex. It's like you wake up in this guy's bed, you wake up in that bed, and then all of a sudden it's a 4-day blur because you have a binge. Instead of like giving yourself, and food is of course different because we have to eat. Okay. So it's like, I really believe in being conscious, fully conscious of what you're doing and fully enjoying it in the moment, but then putting a stop to it right afterwards. It's almost like you put the cap on it and that's over.
But how many years did it take you to get to do that?
It's funny because now I'll be the keto evangelist here. Is that once I've got into this way of eating, it didn't take me long.
Yeah.
Because this way of eating gives you control. Where I don't feel like, and I mean, I don't feel like with Weight Watchers or all those things, I never felt like the control there. Do you know what I mean? Like this, once I was 2 or 3 weeks in on keto, I felt like a peacefulness and like a mindfulness, okay, of being able to do that. And I will say, right from the beginning of eating this way, I was able to, I mean, this sounds insane, but I was able to have ice cream once a year. Like, I know every year on my birthday, I eat ice cream cake. I do. In fact, when I eat ice cream cake on my birthday, I literally like look at people. I'm like, don't even talk to me. I'm in the zone. Like,
no, it's an alone experience. Thank you very much.
And I literally like, I'm like, my eyes are rolling back in my head. I'm like, is this what sugar tastes like? Do you know what I mean? But it's like this way of eating. I don't know the biochemical reasoning behind it, but it gives you a sense of mindfulness. I've never felt ravagingly hungry on this. I have felt like I feel hunger like in increments. Like, yeah, I'm getting a little hungry, and then you can wait. Who knew that?
I know.
You know, it's like I could wait till the next, you know. The other day I was so hungry and I was like thinking a bad choice. I said to myself, I was really hungry. I mean, I have to say, I hadn't eaten all morning. So it was like I usually don't eat till 3 o'clock, but it was about 5, 6 o'clock. And I was driving home from appointments and I was like, oh, I could go get a Wendy's burger and not eat the bun. I could go do this. And I was like, I had this self-control on this diet to say, you know what? I could go to the supermarket just as easily. Went to the supermarket. I bought the meat. I bought this thing. And the entire time I was cooking it, I was okay. That is keto.
That is a wonderful way to close out our chat. And
all right, I'm off to sell houses now.
You go sell houses and I'm off to shop for other people.
Oh, well, you have a great day. It was wonderful to see everybody out there in Pearls of Wisdom land. And if you guys comment down below, I will definitely get back to you.
Oh, that's so good. And it will air Friday.
Perfect.
So what is that? May 3rd. You're on.
See you then.
Bye. Love you, Lisa.
Love you too. Have a great day. We have nice weather here on the East Coast, right?
I'm here. Yeah, finally.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.